So now we're going to be doing a panel, which I'll say is going to take everything we've discussed till now from 10,000 feet down to practicality, how this stuff is implemented, this technology is implemented. And pleasure to invite onto the stage Toby Olshanetsky from prooV. I'm honored to be working with him, amazing CEO. Igal from Cortica, absolutely one of, I think objectively we can all agree, one of the hottest companies in the AI space. And we got Rona, we all know Rona, and Liron. So welcome guys, come on the stage and let's get this panel going. We're gonna jump right in here. First of all, if we could just have like a 30-second introduction. Each one of you guys can introduce yourselves maybe in 30 seconds, I would appreciate that. Ladies first.
Hi, I'm Liron Azrielant. I'm general partner at Meron Capital, where we invest in seed and A startups. We have one of our focus is AI. Before I was a partner at Meron, I was part of Bloomberg's investment team. That's it. It's me.
Love Bloomberg.
Hi, my name is...
I think we're good.
It's working? No.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're great.
My name is Rona Segev, and I'm one of the co-founders of TLV Partners. We are managing $270 million. It's quite new. We just raised our second fund. And we invest in seed and A round companies, mostly cloud computing and deep learning. So this topic is very relevant for us.
Hi, my name is Igal, Raichelgauz. I'm the CEO, one of the founders of Cortica, autonomous AI company. We are working on underlying technology that takes the state-of-the-art of machine learning and brings it more towards human intelligence capabilities.
Where did we meet, me and you? On live TV. That was random. All right, Toby.
Thanks. Hi, good morning. My name is Toby. I'm one of the founders of prooV. And basically, I'm a startup guy. I've been building enterprise software startup for 2 decades, 20 years.
Too humble, Ron. Too humble. Too humble.
And prooV is basically it's a POC, it's a service platform. We allow enterprise to search, test, evaluate, and implement technology in a very safe way.
Beautiful. Let's jump right in. If you could just give me, kind of each one of you, an overview of how we're taking this AI concept from a concept to actually manifest itself in our lives and your activity in the AI, let's call it vertical. Let's keep it this way, I guess.
Oh, wow, I'm going to have to start all the questions. So.
Sorry. Next question, we'll start with Toby.
Yeah. Wow, so what we've been seeing is, I think I want to divide it into 2 subcategories. One is enablement companies, companies that help build tools or help other companies implement AI in-house. So companies like Converge, actually, and Missing Link that build a platform for training, for testing AI or machine learning in this situation, algorithms. And then the second use case that we've, to me personally, it's more interesting, is taking AI or taking these technologies into a specific domain. So companies such as AI Doc from Rona's portfolio, and companies such as Perceptive AI from Meron Capital portfolio. So they're taking a specific use case in Perceptive's situation, churn analysis. So trying to find out which one of your customers is most likely to churn next. So it's mixing those more general algorithms of machine learning with the subject matter expertise of churn and what causes churn, and bringing business insights into companies.
Super fascinating.
So people are using the word AI in quite a flexible manner. And it's really important to differentiate between just doing some kind of correlation to machine learning to really deep learning. And we are currently really focusing on deep learning and checking that the teams actually understand the space. It's a new space, and there are not enough experts. We did one investment in a company called ADOC, which is doing CT MRI image processing, and they are progressing very nicely. And it also gave us the ability to actually understand the complexity of the field and other issues. We looked at the tool space, actually, together with Meron. And there is a lot of activity there. We actually just made an investment in the infrastructure. It's a software-only optimization layer to run deep learning training faster. But definitely we're looking at those 2 areas. One is vertical, applications. So we looked at retail, for example, lately, and other areas. But the teams should be really exceptionally strong. Or we're looking at the infrastructure layer, and in that area, actually, we have the problem with Amazon, Google, IBM, that could be competitors in the future. So it's another problem there.
Those are quite the companies to compete with. Igal.
So what I'm out is that organization is very important. So our company is organized in a matrix structure. We have about half of the company focused on the fundamentals of new generation of AI, where we push the boundaries of machine and deep learning towards more unsupervised capability, while the other half of the company is extremely focused on very specific verticals. And what we found out is it's very important the timing to select the right verticals. Currently, the company is focused on autonomous vehicles, drones, screening, and smart cameras. And beyond this matrix organization, which is both focused on domains and underlying technology, we found that there is a clear need to define new types of positions. For example, what does it mean to be a product person in an AI company? So that's
Interesting, very interesting.
We in prooV, we have a different aspect of how we are looking at AI. We have a unique situation where we are seeing it from the other side of the equation, because enterprises are coming to our platform, basically opening a POC, proof of concept project on AI. And we are seeing different aspects of AI in real time of what's actually interesting different enterprises. So, and it actually depends on the flavor of the month, but we're seeing a lot of things that are specifically on financial verticals or pharmaceutical, that are trying to autonomous everything. So autonomous processes are trying to find a way how to run better prediction analytics using AI, how to find the needle in the haystacks. We're using AI machines in a large data comparison. And a lot of actually worries in the side of AIs. So when they're testing AIs, they also want to test what are the boundaries of AIs. What do we actually allow the AIs, different technologies, and some of the portfolio companies are very interesting solution, and we're seeing it across the globe. But it's not just on the AI, but now what's very interesting for the enterprises are what are the boundaries. Because just to give autonomous or to give total freedom to the technology, it's a dangerous things.
Creates dilemma. Love it. All right, so it's a good segue into my next question. Challenges. We're all talking, this is an AI conference, we're talking about how great AI is. What are the challenges, or should I say, what are the barriers or obstacles to kind of take AI to the mainstream? How many people have Alexa at home, by the way? Raise your hand. Google Home? Any AI in your house? Raise your hand. It's not mainstream yet. Why not? What are the challenges?
So for startups, I think the challenges with, for startups working in the AI space, I think, the main challenge is getting data scientists. It's, this area is fastly growing. There are multiple companies emerging in this field, and there's just a big struggle to get the right talent. And a lot of times you can see really, really strong founders just having a tough time hiring the team after them. Another challenge for these companies is getting the data. So a lot of times, it's not really about how strong your algorithm is. Algorithms in this space are becoming more and more commoditized. It's about getting the data, because with a machine learning or deep learning algorithm, what really makes it strong and unique is the data. And I think, like Rona talked about the challenge of Amazon and Google becoming a big competitor. The biggest problem with that is actually Google and Facebook have so much more data than any one startup could get, and building a business model on buying data from Google isn't really a sustainable business model. So getting the data is another challenge, and once you get this data, getting it in a tagged and organized way that you can build an algorithm on. Challenges for regulators or even investors in this industry is that the emergence of AI is bringing new, I'd say, moral or regulational questions. When a doctor makes a mistake, we have the tools, we have the malpractice insurance, and we have the right systems in place to manage that mistake of the doctor. When when an AI, when a developer makes a mistake, or when the algorithm is just imperfect and we missed a patient with cancer, we misdiagnose, we make a mistake, who's to blame there? And also, if I'm driving a car and in a split-second decision, I make a turn and hit someone else to save myself, no one can blame me. That's instinct. That's my will to survive. If a developer in his home writes the algorithm that makes the car diverge and hit something else to save the driver, that's a very different moral and regulatory question, and the systems we have in place today are still struggling to cope with these questions.
It's very timely. You know, yesterday Uber, did you guys hear this? An Uber car in autonomous mode killed someone. First time someone was killed from an autonomous car. But, which everyone's going crazy about, but how many humans kill people on the road? So it's kind of like,
Sure.
Rona, challenges.
So when we look at the space, there are two main challenges that in both of them we're going to do an investment. One of them is getting the data and tagging it in the right way. You need millions. If you're going for image processing, you're talking about millions of images that are tagged correctly. It's very hard to give it to humans. They're making lots of mistakes. And that's a big, big issue in the industry, and we're trying to solve it. We have a startup now that we're looking at that is trying to solve that issue. Another issue is running experiments. The more experiments you're running, the better your algorithm or your model is, the more accurate it is. Right now, it costs a lot of money, and this is why we invested in this company that is doing optimization. Another thing is understanding where actually to apply deep learning. You need to understand that some data, deep learning is the best solution. Sometimes it's not. So also as a startup, you should really consider seriously, and it's a lot of work and a lot of investment, so we should consider seriously whether actually you want to use this technology or you want to use something else.
So I think the main challenge for any AI solution is really data, and I think there are two different cases. One is that they're objectively not a lot of data. For example, if you want to identify or predict the next terror attack, there is just not a lot of data for this use case. Or for research purposes, like in biology, it's very difficult to have enough data. The other use case, as Rona mentioned, is having a lot of labeled data, which I believe is a solvable challenge. We in Cortica, for example, believe that having random data that is not labeled, such as an autonomous vehicle case, or in just recognizing images, is a solvable challenge. But for any AI solution, I think there should be a very strong focus on a specific vertical to create this cycle between the product and the data.
So we're all in agreement so far. Consensus, we need data, right? That's what I'm hearing. Okay. Is he going to agree or is he not going to agree?
Actually, I'm very happy about it because part of the way that we help our enterprise that we are creating data for the POCs, for the AI. But I think beside, what you just said, which is very important, getting a strong human resource here to develop AI, I think from the side of the technology point of view on the AI, I think one of the main, I would say, obstacles or boundaries or main things to tackle is actually the boundaries of what we allow the AI to do. And actually, if I would think about my next startup, I think a company that will create technologies that makes like testing tools for the boundaries of AI is an important thing. So why I'm saying that? Take the two accidents that just happened, and it's very funny. I just wrote an article on Sunday about the regulation and boundaries of AI. The two accidents that just happened, on both of the cars, there was a driver inside of the car. And so it was an autonomous car driving with a driver inside of the car, and both of them did a fatal accident. One was 6 months ago, and one was last night. The reason for that is that people are giving a lot of faith into the AI. So although there was a driver in the car, he gave the car to do whatever, and he didn't respond quickly. And if you're implementing AI in financial institution, and there's a split of a second decision about financial buying, financial risk, people can actually lose their entire portfolio, financial assets, etc., by a decision that an AI made as an opposite thing for an analyst or security risk that was sitting next to that. So another thing is how much autonomous are actually giving the AI. And for that is the boundaries that we need to develop.
You're doing it again. Amazing segue to my next question. It's like you saw the questions in advance. Are you guys worried about it? I mean, maybe not in this room. I don't think anybody here is worried about, AI in the future. But I think if you go on the street and you ask 10 people, are you concerned about robots? It's a scary word. Are you AI and, my job? Are you guys concerned at all as consumers, let's say, not as industry experts, but as consumers, does it concern you at all? Why and why not, by the way?
So the short answer is no. I think it's improving. It's getting us to be able to do things that we couldn't do before. Even the issues I mentioned before about machines making mistakes, even currently algorithms are able to diagnose better than top-of-the-line doctors, so it's an overall improvement. However, there's one element within deep learning that does concern me, and I'd like to present it. When you think about it, especially less with general AI, but more with specifically machine learning and deep learning. This is a machine that uses what uses past data to make future decisions, right? So all the machine is going to know is what used to happen. And I think that has potentially two very problematic outcomes. One is perpetuating stereotypes. So, for example, with loans, with loan underwriting, machine learning algorithms have been known to be less prone to give loans to people of minority groups than to people of stronger groups. And that's because historically that used to be the case. So they're perpetuating this stereotype. And this is something that they're trying to solve, but it's still not there. It's still using the past to predict the future. And then the other concern with that is that it's going to hamper creativity. If you're only using what used to be to make future decisions, out-of-the-box thinking isn't going to be in the training data, so that might actually hamper future growth.
I have to admit, I didn't even think of any of that. Seriously, amazing.
Well, the short answer is no. And the long answer is that we're really afraid of change. Whenever there is a change or a technology advancement, immediately you hear people all over the place shouting, this is the end of humanity. And if you look at the last 100 years, it was never the end of humanity. Actually, humanity progressed a lot. If you think how people lived 100 years ago, now our days are so much better. We are more healthy, we have food, women are working, life is much better. So I think technology, advancement in technology is good for us. And I actually don't think that deep learning will replace humans. I think it will augment humans in tasks that humans are not so good at. Also, when you're talking about healthcare, what we're seeing with ADOC, for example, we are not replacing radiologists, we're augmenting them, and it's a very, very different concept.
There's usually, I say to people when they say they're afraid of AI, I usually say there's a strong correlation between people that are afraid of AI and the people that said, why would I ever use a mobile phone? Why would I ever use a social network? Why would I want to let people know where I am? And then there's the people that said, a TV? Why would I want a TV? These are the people that are afraid of technology, but it makes our lives better.
Afraid of change, I would say.
That's true. It's a good point. Stand corrected. Here you go.
Well, my main concern is that deep learning today is kind of a black box. It's not transparent, it's not predictable. And in many cases, the performance is good, but we have some mistakes. And these mistakes are not very intuitive. They're very different from human-like mistakes. And I think this creates a lot of issues to trust the AI and, of course, issues for its future.
Got it.
The short answer is no. The long answer is no way.
Nobody's scared of AI? Shocker.
I think AI is becoming a factor, and it's becoming the next future. And I think you cannot avoid that. So it's either how you harness the power of AI to make the better decision and to help you have a better humanity, better medicine, better financial support, reduce accidents by, if all the cars will be autonomous, probably there will be the human factor out of it, and there will be less accidents. The other is how you're working with AI and how you're building the regulation to support AI that will have boundaries, again, how to work with AI.
By the way, before we get to one more question here, in a second after this question, we're going to open it up to Q&A. So prepare your questions. I'll walk around with the mic and take your questions. I just want to say, again, we've talked a lot about your work in AI, and we've talked a lot about the philosophy and hypothetical side of things, but what are some of the unique and most interesting use cases that you've seen in your career or thought of or heard of that are leveraging AI? Again, not the normal autonomous vehicle stuff, but things that maybe are a little bit out of the box that I wouldn't have thought of or people here wouldn't have thought of, just unique things that you've seen in the AI space.
Wow. I've seen a lot of use cases. I think, medical ones, it's been a recurring theme, but this is mostly because I think that the biggest advances are to happen there. Cybersecurity, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say obvious use cases. Cybersecurity is a big one. New ways to outsmart attackers using deep learning, which may discover just new methods of attack. Fintech, underwriting. I haven't been surprised by use cases recently, at least not by the use case, but just by the depth and the strength and the performances that I've seen some startups reach to.
I mean, some of the use cases that surprised me, we talk about insurance, right? I mean, we talk about background checks, things that we don't even think about, right? But now there are a lot of companies out there leveraging AI for those spaces.
I have a story for you, which will surprise you.
Come on, tell everyone.
Yeah, I'll tell everyone. Okay, last week we had Werner Vogels, the CTO of Amazon, come to our Brain Fest. And he told us about a use case, which for me was kind of disturbing. There are, trafficking of women all over the world. So there is this startup that developed deep learning that can identify missing girls from Eastern Europe and different places. Wow. By looking at different websites and looking for the pictures. Yeah, and they identified 5,000 women already and saved them, which is amazing. But then I was thinking to myself...
Yeah, you can clap that up. Clap it up. That is amazing.
That's amazing.
Wow.
But then I thought about it and I said, oh my God, now the next step is when those gangsters will realize that they can find them through deep learning, they'll start doing terrible things to their face or whatever. So this is my...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I think it's a great initiative and hopefully nothing bad will happen afterwards.
It's an Israeli company, by the way? Israeli company?
It's not an Israeli company,
no one's perfect.
Unfortunately. No one's perfect, yeah.
No one's perfect.
So I'm actually going to have to add, maybe we wouldn't have to corrupt their faces, because I've seen a company that uses AI to morph your face in a way that you're not recognizable in a picture just by, just making small changes. So maybe if they could change the pictures on social media, so that would be an interesting way of hiding. I hope none of the
don't encourage that.
Prostitutes and not social media, but okay.
Yeah, well, I hope none of the bad guys are gonna listen to the panel.
None of you guys are bad guys, right? Okay, just making sure. Igal.
I think one very powerful use case is probably replacing the researcher, AI that can discover things, and as part of that, maybe even produce the next version or generation of AI. This I think very powerful. Another one very surprising is probably AI that can read and understand humans better than humans do. So for example, look at human face and try to identify different micro or subtle expressions, and from this to infer different intents or different states of minds and so on.
Get your questions ready.
Well, besides the thing that we are seeing a lot of cases that companies trying to autonomous many things, but one thing that I wasn't surprised, but I was very interesting to see is a very big university is actually implementing an AI solution in real time to perform better education to students in the class. So actually for each one of the students there will be their own iPad with an AI technology, and according to their behavior during the lecture, during the presentation, each one will get a different set of question and answers or things that are related to that. So he will get a better education according to his curve of learning than the other student. And this is like crazy. This is like building something which is personal on the education, which can actually change the entire way of universities.
Incredible. So we're talking about doing good for the world. I think that's a good title for a good place to end the panel. I'm going to open up to questions. Let me get those mics, hand them out here. I have 10 more questions. Oh, we got a big question here. May I give them out to a couple of people? Let's see. Pray for me that I make this jump okay. Yes.
I was surprised that nobody's afraid of AI, because all advance in technology was done by two things, either military needs or economy, bracket, greed. Ethics, ruling, all these kind of things came at a later stage at the best. So if artificial intelligence will replace people's judgment or decision, we might find ourselves in a very bad situation for the short term. For the longer term, we know that the compute power of this machine is probably surpass human compute power. And again, if we let them make the decisions, I'm not sure where we go. So if the one thing that I'm afraid of is an AI expert that are not afraid of AI, not for the shorter term, but for the longer term, definitely. I do believe there's a risk. I would like to hear your opinion. Why do you feel so comfortable that there's no risk?
I'll just say one sentence. I'm more afraid of people than I am afraid of deep learning, okay?
By the way, can you just introduce yourself so people know who's asking that question? Seriously? I mean, okay, sure, all right.
So about the machine making the decision versus human. So if you go back to the example I noted about underwriting and not providing credit to minority groups.
That's just an example, you're right.
Yeah. So what we've seen specifically from that example is the humans policing the AI in terms of, so the way that this problem is attempted to be solved right now is that AI algorithms are not allowed to use certain inputs as data into their machines. For example, images you're not allowed to use, and in certain places, not even the zip code, because that highly correlates with your ethnicity or your community. It's not a perfect solution, but I do believe that eventually, after certain iterations, you could build a machine that's even less biased than the humans who make it.
We'll not open it to debate, I'll take it offline, but just to tell you guys, let's admit it, the first robots with artificial intelligence are military drones that have got permission to open fire without human intervention. That's happening today. That's the first drones. They're allowed to open fire, and they are doing it based on picture and all the things that you said that they are not allowed. So again, I'm not saying it's a doomsday, but I will not take it for granted that there's no risk. I rest my case, sorry.
Of course, they don't have to be perfect. They just have to be better than the sniper or the person that's on the field, and we've already improved from the current situation.
Muli Eden, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. All right, you go.
Okay, so I'm interested in trending, and I want to understand or predict what will be trending in 10, 20 years. Right now, AI is very hot, but if you went back 20, 30 years ago, people didn't think that it was the next big thing. What do you predict will be the next big thing in 10 years, 20 years? How can we see from the technology itself what will be important? Deep learning has been around for a very long time under different names, under different variations. But right now, deep learning is the hottest technology of computer science. So how do we know what will happen in the future?
Just by the way, before you guys answer, we have like a minute and a half left for questions, so maybe 2-3 more questions. I apologize, can't get to everyone.
Yeah, so I think, since 50s, as you say, since Marvin Minsky and Rosenblatt and so on, the holy grail of AI was always to get to human intelligence. And I think we are on a kind of a roadmap to get there. It's right, the deep learning is very far from that. Our brain is not so deep, and our learning algorithms are not backpropagation. But I think we are not necessarily moving in a straight line, but we are getting there, and if we need to think about what it will take us to the next, let's say, 20, 30 years, probably it's going to be towards human intelligence. Another way I think to look at that is the other trends that kind of structure and forming the right AI. One of that is, of course, the big data. We're getting more and more data, which solves a lot of challenges. Another one is the requirement to run on the edge, whether it's a drone or a vehicle or whatever. And the last one is a need to decentralize the technology. We see it a bit from the blockchain, but it also pushes the centralized model of the deep learning to something else. And I think all these trends will also form the next generation of AI.
Some more questions? Whoever has the mic, I apologize.
Yeah, so on AI, we can see two different parts. One is preventing machines. The second is to anticipate on and to replace human actions and behavior. So I have two questions, in fact. One, do you accompany startups on a legal point of view, because as you mentioned, Liron, there is a posteriori problems, but there are also a priori problems. And it's something that it's a new field in terms of legal aspects. Second question is, on human attitudes, and in Israel it's easy to explain, there is a concept named tshuva. It means disruptive attitude. So do you see in the startup you're investing in, people working on this kind of AI on AI, anticipating on disruption? Thank you.
Maybe on the legal, and then I'll let Liron answer that because she opened the subject. I just can tell you from ADOC that we got an approval from the FDA, or in the process of getting an approval, and what we're proving is that their model is more accurate than human beings, okay? So, and I think also when you look at autonomous cars, and this is funny because the most dangerous things is not that the deep learning engine will do a mistake, but actually that humans are drinking alcohol and texting and dreaming and falling asleep. So if you think about if you would, I'm asking you, do you rather drive with a lot of people driving cars around you or with machines? I'm not sure what is the right answer that you should answer, by the way. And also with radiologists, but I think right now at the state of AI, I think it's not standing alone. So it's always, there are humans that are looking at the results and improving them. So you have the combination of the AI that is doing a lot of the processing and crunching and giving some kind of recommendation, but then you have the human mind that is actually approving.
All right, we got a hard stop here, guys. I know I said 2 more questions. I apologize, man. Sorry about that. All right, we're going to move on to the next. Thank you guys so much for a fantastic panel. Thank you.